So, hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Uh, Good to see you gathering again. Nice to see some familiar faces here. And welcome to this evening's Dive In with Dom. So we'll wait just a few seconds for people to gather a little further before we dive into this evening's session. So while we wait, or as we're just getting started, just a couple of reminders about this forum. I think many of you know. Let's have a quick check, actually. Who's new here? Anybody here for the first time? Just wave your hand if you are. No, okay.
I'm new.
There's someone. Where am I not seeing you? Oh, there you are. Hi, Woodme, welcome.
Hi.
Good to see you here. You're new here? Are you new to inquiry? Or have you done inquiry before?
Just taking some online courses from the Diamond Approach. I was able to participate in one live small group inquiry session. So fairly very new.
Very new. Good. Welcome. Lovely to have you with us. Yeah, so this is a public forum. It's a public space, and it's part of my work of just raising awareness about this practice of inquiry. And so we have here people of a whole range of levels of experience. People who are brand new to inquiry, people who've been inquiring for many years, even many decades. So one of the rich things here is you get to both see and interact with people at all kinds of experience levels. We record the session. It's a public session. So what goes on here in the main meeting room will be recorded and gets posted to YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel at Dive In Inquiry, where a whole lot of these sessions, upwards of 30 now, form a little library that you can go and browse. And so you should be aware that anything you say here in this main meeting room will be recorded and may be used for that. At some point, we'll break into a breakout room and you'll do a little inquiry if you want to with other people or a couple of other people in the group. And that is not recorded. So just so you know, those are completely confidential, and that nothing that happens in there will find its way onto our YouTube channel. So what else to say? I think that's good. This evening's session, or this morning's session, is, if you're watching online, today's session, is a continuation of a theme that we started last time. So if you are watching this online, you might want to go and watch that previous session first, where we spoke a little bit about being present and presence and what that is. And today we're going to continue looking at this question of presence and how it relates to inquiry. And we're going to bring it to a very interesting area that I think a lot of people both have difficulties with and have interest in, and that is, of course, the whole realm of emotional reactions. So emotional reactions, things like anger, fear, anxiety, despair, sadness, a whole range of emotions that a human being can feel. And we want to take a little time today to look at inquiry, at presence, and at this realm of emotional reactions. So we're going to begin with a short practice, as we do. And I'm going to invite you to find a good posture for a meditation. We'll do a short meditation. And so you want to feel your feet on the ground, your butt in the chair. Just take a moment to kind of sense that. Sense yourself landing here. You've made the time to come here. You've made the time to listen to this. And so see what it means to become a little more present. Right? To feel the sensations of your legs, of your lower half, of your bottom, of your belly. And take a moment as we begin to just notice how you're feeling. So you can become a bit more present with the feelings that are here. notice like how your mind is. So is your mind settled, curious and here, or are you thinking you got something on your mind that's whirring away, or you're listening with one eyebrow raised, like, oh, what's going on here? What's this guy going to say? So you're noticing what's happening in your mind. So in all of these steps, you're getting a little more in touch with what's here, with what's going on in your immediate experience in its various layers. So this is, we could say, an aspect of getting more present, becoming more present. So now let your eyes close. Take a nice breath in through your nose. Just let it out through your mouth. And take another one. And just let it out. Feel your spine rising up. So you're sitting upright. And you want to be alert but relaxed. So you're not tense. You're not falling over or collapsing or going to sleep. You're just alert, present, easy. You might feel your head rising upwards, floating atop your spine. Notice your eyes, your mouth. If there's any tension there, you can relax it just a little. And then come down into your torso. Begin to sense the movement of your torso, your ribs as you breathe. And then come a little further down into your belly, your lower belly, the area below your belly button. And so take a moment to see what you can sense there. You might rest one hand over that area and cup the other over that. Feeling the warmth of your hand against your belly. You might feel just the movement of your lower belly as you breathe. You might feel sort of physiological sensations like your full tummy or your breakfast or dinner. So you're becoming more present, ever more present. Ever more present in this moment with your lower belly. Now maybe you sense something more subtle. Maybe some kind of energy or tingling. Something flowing. Or some kind of density. As you sense inside, a couple of inches down, a couple of inches in, you're sensing those sensations in a very subtle way. You don't have to go look for something that's not there. So you just want to feel whatever it is that you can feel. When you place your attention in your lower belly, you might notice if it feels sort of more fluid or more dense or more solid or more empty. Maybe it feels like not much. So you might see as you get more and more present with your lower belly and keep placing your attention there and keep sensing what you can sense there, that there may be more and more to feel. Different layers or different levels, different sensations. And you may notice not much. So many people, when they sense their lower belly, it's like, oh, not really too much there. Maybe a few little flickers. And then you just feel that, like, okay, you just sense these flickers. So now we're going to take a few minutes just being present there, to simply be present with the sensations of the lower belly. Nothing you got to do, haven't got to make it go anywhere, haven't got to find any particular experience, or there's nothing good or bad, no right or wrong. All you're doing is simply staying present with whatever you can find there. And when you notice, if you wander off, if you go and start thinking about things or get caught up in other things going on, bring yourself back. Just bring your focus back to sensing the belly. There can be all sorts of other things happening in your experience. You might have feelings, or thoughts, or sensations in other parts of your body. You don't have to get rid of anything. Simply let your main focus be on the belly. Staying present with your belly, in your belly. Simply continuing to abide, sensing your belly, staying present with whatever's there, however it changes, letting your consciousness gather there. And we'll end that practice. And as we do, I want you to notice, what do you sense now in your belly? Maybe that's changed from when you began. And notice how you're feeling. What's your state like? And how's that different than when you began? As you sense your belly, you may notice something there that is something you can sense, but is not exactly a normal physical sensation. Right? It's not exactly the soft roll of your belly or your washboard abs, if that's what you have. Maybe you sense something there that feels sort of almost like a clear fluid, or like glass, or like something dense and solid. Some kind of presence, if you know what that is, if that's something you have experience of. Sensing your consciousness, sensing your state. Maybe something you notice, maybe it just feels very still there, still and quiet, or deep. So I simply mentioned some possibilities, doesn't mean it's what you have to find. It's the kind of thing you don't look for if it's not there, but you don't want to miss if it is. And now let your consciousness spread out through your body, spreading through the rest of your torso, spreading into your arms and legs. Once again, you're becoming more in touch with the rest of your body, more present in the rest of your body. And if you're sensing presence, you may feel your presence spreading out into your body. And then begin listening, consciously listening, becoming present with the sounds. The more you are attentive to the sounds and these sensations that are present, at some point you may begin to notice the quality of your consciousness itself, the presence of you, of your consciousness. As you're listening. And then when you're ready to, you can let your eyes gently open and begin looking. And being present with the sights and the sounds of your environment. Now the sights, the pictures, the images, the objects, the colors, the shapes, the light and the shadow, textures. So what's it like to be really present with that? To let that be really present in your experience. Like, this is where you are. This is what's actually here. And since we're going to be turning to the topic of feelings, once again, notice how you're feeling. Like, how is it to include the dimension of your feelings right here? Whatever it is, not to change it, not to make it go away or be different, or just including, oh yeah, this is the feeling I'm present with right now. The feeling that is present. How is it to feel that? To be with it, to give it space. So see if there's a little movement that would be good. Maybe you want a little stretch or movement or a little drink of water. Find what would be good for you. So as we go into our inquiry, so what is inquiry? Back to the basics. And inquiry is about getting in touch with your experience. It's about really being in touch with what's going on for you, being open to it, being curious about it, and wanting to find out what's here, what's up. Talk about having this orientation of friendly interest for yourself. Now you want to know, oh, how am I doing? What's going on here? What is here? So one way to think of inquiry is about becoming more present with your experience. And really becoming more and more intimately in touch with it, with whatever it is that's really here. So we get more and more in touch with it. We feel it more fully. We touch it more fully. And we want to know what it is. We want to know what's going on. And this includes all of the layers of our experience, our mind, what we're thinking, what things are meaning to us, the story of what's happening, the things that are going on in our lives that are affecting us, our feelings, how we're feeling about everything, you know, the different qualities of our hearts that are showing up. And then our sensate experience, the feelings of the sensations of our body and our embodiment. And the more we get in touch with these things, the more we kind of feel into what is present and find out what it is. Like, what is it? What am I feeling? Feeling all these physical things in my body, right? The more you sort of explore that and are with that, at some point, this will bring us from being more present, getting more in touch with what is present, all the different details of our experience. And at some point, we may begin to recognize our presence, the very feeling and sensation of our own consciousness. We have these experiences where you're sensing, looking, and listening, you're kind of feeling your body and you're looking around, and suddenly everything has this intensity, this vividness of here-ness, like it's just here, it's palpable. Might feel like your whole experience is alive. It can be your experience of yourself in your body. It might be the way you're experiencing your environment or someone else. But it has an immediacy, right? A kind of vivid, palpable immediacy. And then we can begin to notice the way that we experience ourselves has all sorts of different qualities that we talked about this last time. We can feel kindness, begin to feel, to know our kindness and our gentle nature, not just as, you know, an emotional reaction, but to really feel it as our beingness. That is actually, that is my nature. That is what I am. I am this joyous nature, this light, open, curious beingness. That's actually what I am. And I can sense and feel it and begin to have moments of touching and recognizing. So being present goes through many evolutions and developments. But we could say the first step of it is being more present, more in touch with the things that are present. And at some point that can bring us to the recognition of presence, to feeling the immediacy of our beingness. Now, in both of these situations, right, whether we mean it just in the more ordinary sense of the word of, you know, when you say you can just be present, you know, you're there. you're there, you're being yourself, you're kind of just natural. It's not complicated. You might be enthusiastic, you might be feeling joyful or happy, you might be feeling, just kind of with someone you care about and you're feeling good. So, in the very ordinary sense of the word, as we go about our lives, you recognize times where, I'm just there. I'm there, I'm relaxed, it's easy, right? I can show up there, I feel like I'm present. I'm not fighting with reality in some way. So, those moments of kind of ordinary being present, I think, are something that many people can recognize even before they notice the actual thing of presence itself. Once you recognize presence, you begin to sense your consciousness itself, then you can recognize that. You recognize times when you feel your sweetness or your goodness or your stillness or openness or all the different qualities that can show up, and they're just there. They're there and they can come forward in your life, meeting the different circumstances of your life, your determination or your strength or your aliveness or your courage or whatever it is. So we can experience these natural qualities of our nature coming forward in our lives in the ordinary way that kind of many people experience. And we can experience them in the sort of, let's say, where we're really recognizing the presence itself, sensing that and knowing that, feeling the quality of joy in our hearts or the quality of openness in our minds. But in either case, what they have in common is the sense of a kind of easy being of yourself, some kind of naturalness. Now, once you get that, you begin to recognize that can happen sometimes. You will probably begin to notice that there are times when it doesn't happen, when it's not happening. Right? So then we begin to notice, well, there are actually many things that kind of start getting in the way of that, where it's not easy to just kind of be there in a relaxed way. And with our inquiry, because inquiry is just about being curious about our experience and kind of wondering what's going on there, we might at some point do just that. Like, oh, what are those things? What are those places where I can be there and it's all good and it feels relatively easy, and then it all sort of goes to hell in a handbasket in one way or another, or I seem to get disconnected from that presence, or I can't just be there in a nice, comfortable way. I'm suddenly ranting behind my wheel at the car in front of me, or I'm overcome with anxiety about what's going on in the world and politics and the economic situation, or I'm feeling terrified, or I'm, feeling depressed. So all those examples I gave there, obviously, point to one particular category of issue, and that is emotional reactions. So emotional reactions are one of the places where human beings generally find it very hard to be present. Now there's something in the reaction itself that kind of makes you not want to do that, right? When you feel, you think of any strong emotion, when you feel it, is there anything in the emotion that sort of naturally just makes you want to go, okay, I'm going to just sit here and be present with this? Like, no, it doesn't do that, right? The whole wiring of it in your system is to make you do something. Right? So you feel angry, you want to go and do something about it. Or if you're feeling hateful, you want to sort of cut them off and never speak to them again. Or if you're feeling depressed, you want to withdraw and go into your room and not have anything to do with the world ever again. Right? Or if you're feeling afraid, you want to get away from whatever it is that's making you afraid, or just freeze and not take any action. So emotions, kind of by their nature, really come with these kind of impetuses, these kind of urges. And, they cause a lot of difficulty. A lot of the emotions that we have, all kinds of emotional reactions. And as you start inquiring, as you start getting more present with your inner world and more present with what's going on for you, you might start noticing more emotions, more things that, before maybe you weren't so aware of, you weren't so in touch with. But as you start inquiring, you're sensing yourself, you're feeling yourself, you're more and more in touch and kind of open to what's happening in you. And one of the things that's going to bring you in touch with is more and more of these emotions. So there's a lot to kind of learn there and explore. It's like a whole territory of our inner world. And it takes a kind of a whole lot of development and understanding and maturation to be able to be with, to begin to be present with our emotions. And it's kind of paradoxical because, one of the whole things about these emotions is they make us not want to be present. They make us want to just go out and do something, or, just act, or not act, or whatever it is. So it's usually described as having a charge. So our emotional reactions tend to have a charge. The charge tends to be compulsive, tends to make us want to behave in a certain way. So we want to discharge it. We want to go with that feeling or do whatever it is that it makes us want to do. And so inquiry then is really bringing something very different. And in some ways, it's good just to recognize that, like just to grok that, like, okay, we're actually going to do something that is really quite different, quite counterintuitive, quite against the sort of automatic flow of our emotions. Because we're going to learn how to be present with them and be curious about them. So that is a whole different kind of move, a whole different maneuver. So emotions take us away from presence if we sort of let them run automatically. So the first thing to note is then, if we're going to explore into them, if we're going to find out what's going on there, and if we're going to learn how to be more present, which is, kind of what we want to do, we want to be more present in our lives, then we've got to learn how to be present with our emotions. It means we've got to learn little by little how to allow ourselves to feel them, just like you were doing with your belly. How to feel it, how to let it be here, how to not just charge out and do something about it, but to be with the experience, to let yourself have and tolerate the feeling of it. So our sensing practice, for example, that we always teach alongside inquiry, is one of the great aids here. So we learn how to sense our arms and legs. So, you can feel the sensations of your arms and legs. You've got your arms and legs. You're in touch with something that isn't just the emotion. And then you kind of let yourself feel the emotion a bit, like, okay, so what happens? I'm feeling like so upset about what happened. And I'm just going to sense my arms and legs and be present with my upset. Let me just feel it and be with it. So it's worth noting that even that move, I said it's very counterintuitive. It's doing something very unusual. It's doing something that a certain part of our consciousness will probably tell us not to do, will tell us is bad or wrong, or you shouldn't do that. And I am, of course, talking about our inner critic. So the inner critic might be keeping us away from our feelings, telling you shouldn't be depressed, or you shouldn't be sad, or you shouldn't be anxious, or should be over this feeling by now, or, all the different things, the different judgments that might show up. So that is something we have to learn how to navigate, to go, hang on, hey, I'm feeling this feeling. I'm here with my sadness, and actually, I want to stay with it. I want to find out about this. I want to be with this part of my soul, this part of my consciousness. So there is, just in that turning towards these charged, difficult feelings, there is there's a practice. There's a practice of taking the time, letting ourselves go step by step and build the capacity to feel these things. It's very valuable to bring in the sensing, to bring in sensing our bodies, right? So as I'm feeling this anger, I'm sensing my body. I'm seeing, how does it show up in my body? We learn not to just act the emotions out, not to just go and discharge them in our lives. Don't just go and yell at the person or cut them off, but give yourself time to find out what's going on there. So part of the whole movement of becoming present is learning to become present with the emotion, to be able to have the feeling be there and still be present, still be consciously with your experience. So you remember when we were doing the meditation, I said to you, you want to be present, sensing your belly, feeling what's happening there, and other things can be going on. You know, you might be still feeling sad, or there might be all these feelings going on, or you might be feeling really joyful or love or all kinds of things, all these positive things too. I keep talking about reactions and negative things, but it could be very positive emotions too. Can you stay sensing your belly at the same time? So practicing with our experience, and in this case, practicing with our emotions, means building the capacity to let the feeling happen and to be there with it, to stay with it. And that is something that for a long time is very counterintuitive, especially once people have discovered presence. So a very common thing that happens is people discover presence, say you begin to get a taste of it. You feel your joy, or you feel your openness, or you feel your compassion. You feel your love, your heart overflowing. These are lovely experiences, right? Everybody wants to feel these things. And then along comes like something that sort of suddenly you feel anxious. Right? So it's a very common move to go, okay, hang on, when I was being present, I felt love, or I felt joy, or I felt peacefulness, or I felt openness. Now I'm feeling anxiety, and that's not presence. That's not kind of just relaxed, natural being here. Let me get back to that. Let me get back to that positive feeling. How do I get the joy back, or how do I get my openness back? I'm going to go back to my meditation cushion and going to try and re-evoke that feeling, or get away from the thing that's annoying me, or whatever it is. Now, the problem with that approach, so, you know, sometimes that can work to some degree. Maybe you can do that. Maybe you can, you know, recite an affirmation and make yourself feel better, or reconnect to something that does feel more present. But the problem with that is that that thing that spun you out, that thing that triggered some sort of emotion, whatever it was, or reaction, is still going to do it, right? So something happened there that made you react, made you lose your presence. And you can do a trick to get back to it, but whatever it was that happened there is not going to change. So it means it'll happen the next time. It'll still be there. That little wrinkle in your psyche that made you react is still around. So the possibility, the interesting possibility of inquiry is, what about being present with that? What about being present with the reaction, going into it, and not only feeling it and sensing it and learning how to be there with it, so that, you know, if somebody does annoy you, it's okay, you can still be there, right? You don't have to feel lost. But what if there is something in that reaction itself that is really significant, that is really important? The next piece of the puzzle to see is that actually our emotional reactions, when you really look at them, what are we reacting to? Why are we reacting? Why are we getting anxious or angry or hateful or despairing, or how come? If you really look into it, and admittedly, sometimes you have to look really deeply, you will tend to find that at the core of that reaction, right at the heart of it, what you are reacting to is the fact that is something that you can't be present with. Right? There is some feeling in there, or some way that the circumstance is affecting you, or something that it's bringing up in you that you feel unable to just relax and be with. And the more you look at that, you might see, oh, there's some quality of presence that I feel like I just don't have. So when I'm in this situation, right, I get all angry. Take the road rage thing. You see people, I've been seeing some exciting driving around here where I live in Cape Town. Somebody was getting very worked up the other day in their car. So how come they're getting so worked up? Why are they getting so angry? If you look at it, at some point, they can't just relax and be with what's going on. Well, why not? Oh, maybe it makes them feel powerless. Right? So it points to the fact that they don't feel the sense of power within themselves to just relax and be with what's happening. Right? Or maybe you get all upset when your boss says something to you and you look into it and you find out that, oh, it's because I felt like I had no value. And I couldn't just relax and be present with the situation of feeling like I had no value. So however you look into it, wherever you find an emotional reaction, if you dig into the reaction, if you actually try to understand it, you will see that there is something in there that you can't be you can't be present with. You can't just relax and be with in an easy way. So in our inquiry, what we're doing is we're bringing that to the light. Rather than making the reaction the problem, the reaction is not a problem at all. The reaction is a symptom. It's pointing you to something. It's pointing you to the fact that something that it takes to be present is not available to you. Could put it that way. Right? Something that you need to feel and know is not available to you in that experience, and that's what makes you react, right? In any of those different ways. So all we're doing here is kind of beginning to open the lid, right? So we can begin to see then that any of these reactions, any reaction that you have, it takes people years to really grok what I'm saying here. Took me years. Sometimes I feel like I'm still learning it. Any reaction that you have, right? Hatred, all the things I've mentioned, sadness, all of it. If you really look into it, if you be with it, be present with it, and try to see what's making it happen, it will lead you to something in yourself that you're not able to be present with. And that's what's triggering the reaction. So the reaction is really never the problem. It's a problem when we run with our reactions and we make a mess in our lives, right? That's a problem. So we've got to learn how to be present with it so that we don't just go and make a mess in our lives. We don't just believe it and act on it. But if we can take that sort of trigger, that moment of reaction and get curious about it and recognize that, oh, there's something going on here that I actually can't be with, that is hard for me to be with. What is that? How come? What is it that touches in me? If I'm not trying to fix the situation out there or blame them or blah, 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 all of the things we do, if I just look at myself for a moment, like, what is making me react like that? What is triggering this reaction? That reaction then can be a doorway that will start leading us more towards what it will take to be present. Firstly, it will expose the gaps in our capacity to be present, and in time, it will lead us to the presence itself. want to be clear that it doesn't mean you never act in your life. I mean, sometimes somebody, so you get angry about something, you have to set a boundary. You set a boundary. But so the question is not about not doing things. The question is simply to be curious about how come it has so much charge? How come it sparks something in me that has such intensity and such compulsiveness? What is that touching? And what happens if I let myself be a little more present with that? If we can engage that journey, if we can enter into that, in time, what we will do is expand our capacity to be present. Right? Because you will be growing your ability to be with both more and more of the different kinds of feelings, right? And, honestly, you engage into the journey of inquiry, you should know you're going to be getting in touch with all kinds of things for years, for decades. Like all kinds of stuff's going to be coming up and bringing about all kinds of feelings. So we got to learn how to, be with it, let them happen, not get swept away by them completely, and to recognize that, oh, these are clues. These are things that I can explore into. And everyone is an opportunity to expand my presence and to expand my capacity to be present if I can enter into that inquiry, that exploration. So I think that's broadly what I wanted to say this evening. And I'm going to give you a little opportunity to look into this a bit for yourselves. So you'll be in little groups of 3. Just a reminder that in the group of 3, each person will have 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes is your 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes for you to just explore your own experience, to find out what's true for you. So you're doing your own little inquiry. And the other 2 people are just silent witnesses. They don't say anything, they don't intervene, they don't nod or hum or clap or, you just want to be neutral and there and be present. Be as present as you can be, sensing yourself, sensing how you're being affected by what the other person is saying, but just staying present, right? You don't have to respond or react at all. So you'll each have 5 minutes. And in the 5 minutes, you just want to look for yourself, like, how are you present with different feelings, different reactions, right? How are you present with them? What do you see about being present with them? Can you be present with them? Do you explore them and see them as opportunities? Do you see them as something to be gotten rid of, right? To get back to the nice state? Do you sort of believe still, and very widespread, the sense that actually if there's something difficult there, like anger or whatever the feeling is that's challenging, the best thing I can do is try and get myself back to a better state? Or do you have experience that, oh, if I actually let myself be present with that and explore it and find out the truth of it, find out what's really going on there, what's making that happen inside me, where that is coming from within my psyche, that can open up and can allow you to become more present. So do you have some experience of that? You want to just see where you are with all this. Okay, so it'll be 5 minutes each just to, take a peek into the territory. And yeah, then we will come back here with some discussion, questions, and sharing. So the whole thing will give you probably about 18 minutes. And you'll be in groups of 3. Each person will have 5 minutes, so that will take 15 minutes. Then we'll have like an extra 3 or 4 minutes for coming and going and, say hello, introduce yourself. Remember that if you are not going to do the exercise, and you don't have to do it, it's just an invitation, then please drop off right now and then rejoin the call in about 20 minutes. or 18 minutes, so that you don't abandon your sort of people that you've been put with in a breakout room. All righty. So everybody who's still on the call, we're assuming you're going to do the exercise. Susan, I think, is putting you in breakout rooms, and you'll be in there, and then we'll see you back here, well, I guess around about 22, maybe just before. So hi, everyone. Welcome back. And question time. So time for some questions or comments or sharing. How was it to look at this? What do you see? What's your experience? What are your difficulties? What are the things you struggle with? So anything you'd like to bring is welcome. All right. So I'm going to say your name right. Lieven.
Yeah.
Can help
Yeah,
with that.
that's right. It's a
Good.
small question. I don't know how relevant or interesting it is, but I noticed a kind of confusion between noticing the emotion that was present, it was not very clear, and sensing it physically, and the reaction to it. That felt like two things, and I got kind of confused with what we had to do, where to focus.
Yeah, great, great. So, you know, inquiry is just about exploring our experience. So it sounds like what you saw is that there was an emotion, some kind of feeling. And as you got more in touch with it or became more conscious of it, you had a reaction to it, right? There was some kind of response to it. Is that right?
I'm not sure. I felt like I was just trying to do my best. What was I
Okay.
trying
I
to
mean, could you say a
name?
little more specifically like what it was?
Like I was really trying to do my best in naming what I felt. And then I thought, oh no, I have to check not only what I feel, but also whether I'm reacting to it. I wasn't even sure whether I was reacting to it. So I got kind of confused in between. And
Yeah.
I guess I ended up a little bit mental. Just at
Right.
the end, I noticed I wasn't actually in touch anymore with what I was really feeling.
Okay. So that's good discovery, right? So, you know, that means that you were getting in touch with something and then you noticed you got taken away from it. So that's a good thing to see.
Yeah.
You're just understanding kind of what goes on in you. That's all. And so you were getting in touch with the feeling, and then you had a question, am I reacting to it?
Yeah.
And did
Should I
you
be with the emotion or should I check whether I'm reacting to it?
Okay, yeah. So, you know, these are the kind of forks we can come to in inquiry. Like, oh, should I keep feeling the feeling or should I check if I'm reacting? If there isn't an obvious reaction coming up, right, then why would you need to check? You could just stay with the feeling. But there's also nothing to stop you going, okay, well, am I reacting to this? Were you?
Well, what is reacting? That's interesting. Maybe that was a part of my discovery or interest in the moment. What is actually a reaction to something?
No, okay, right.
Yeah. Is it just trying to name it very well? Is that also a kind of a reaction? I
Okay.
wasn't sure. I only
Yeah,
noticed that trying to name everything
yeah.
before it kind of took me away of what was there. So
Very
I
good.
was going in between naming and in between being silent and just feeling it.
Yes.
Uh,
So I think that's a skill that we develop with inquiry. How do I actually be with the experience, feel it, and then articulate it, like find the word for it, say something about it. And that itself is a kind of skill that takes us time to develop, right? To actually just feel what I'm feeling and talk about it while not losing it, right? And sometimes what you did is good. You feel it a bit, you talk about it a bit, you come back to feeling it, you see what else you can say, right? So I would just cultivate that. And, you know, so I wouldn't call that reacting to it. also to be clear. So reacting would be something like, oh, I feel I'm getting I'm in touch with a sense of, maybe I'm feeling joy, right? I'm feeling really happy and joyful. And then something in me goes, oh, I shouldn't be feeling that, or that's not good. That's a reaction.
Yeah, that's obvious.
Or, yeah, okay. So let it be
Okay.
obvious, like if something's there,
Yeah.
like I said, don't go looking for stuff that's not there.
No,
Just,
yeah, that's a good point. And I think I am also actually quite tired, and getting in touch with what is there is more difficult when there's a kind of mist or a fog,
yeah.
because of
Well,
tiredness. Yeah.
maybe, but maybe what's there is the mist and the fog of tiredness. You can just be
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks for your question. Good question. Yes, and then Miranda. Hi, Miranda.
Hi. I've had quite a difficult week emotionally, actually, and I've been really trying to be with those emotions, and try not to let them go, to try and not to push them away too early. And I think I've probably been reasonably successful with that. But what I found is that it just takes up a lot of time and attention, and slows everything down, and means that I can't do the normal things, and it sort of sometimes feels like I'm wading through treacle. And and then the other thing is that my husband is seeing me doing all these things, and he's not used to it. He's not used to me being like that. So then he's kind of going, well, what's going on here? And I'm sort of thinking, oh, I feel a bit guilty because I'm kind of dragging him into it, really. And he doesn't really want to be dragged into it. So, or, I'm not available to him when I'm struggling with feeling sad and shocked or something like that.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, so especially when we start getting in touch with some of these, they're just reactions that happen to things that are going on. But as you know, as we kind of get deeper and deeper in touch with them, we find ourselves getting in touch with, things that are really deep inside our psyche, our inner world, things from the past and all of that kind of thing. And, I think it's another thing that it takes is to be realistic about. So, you're right. I mean, it does have that effect. It will sometimes slow you down, and require extra attention and, care for yourself. And, if we start doing inner work, I mean, I mean, in some ways it's not like everything just gets easier, right? In some ways it gets more difficult because you are more in touch with all these parts in yourself. And, it tends to bring about change and growth and development, which is great. But at times, it is like that. So I think then it's also good to be realistic about, what we can expect, for example, from our partners or friends or, you know, I mean, again, if somebody has always known you in a certain way and then you begin to change, that does have an impact. That has an impact on the relationship and on them. And I mean, it's not something to kind of beat yourself up about, to let your superego sort of beat you up about, but it is a thing, right? It is for sure.
Yeah, I think it feels like I'm imposing it on him in a way, and I know that it seems to be coming up quite a lot for people that I'm working with, is the impact on people around you.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
I went through a patch where I was in touch with my really difficult. I went through a difficult relationship transition, and it kind of brought me back to some like really early stuff, and it just took like a very long time. And like I mean, I had certain friends who just like they just couldn't hear it anymore. They were like, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to hear about it. We just can't, And it was a thing to recognize that, like, okay. I got these feelings. I got to, work on them with my teacher or my therapist or my, friends who can listen. And some people I still want to go there and can't go there. And that's not wrong. That's just certain limitations.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome, Miranda. And it's a thing, learning to be present with these things. What we learn, I mean, I guess another point to make, and we touched on this in a previous dive in with Dom, is that we try and titrate them. So you're obviously building your capacity where you can actually allow these feelings and be with them, and not let your life might slow down a bit, but it doesn't kind of grind to a complete halt. So you keep things going and do what you need to do. That is important as well. Part of if you're getting in touch with something that really completely disables you for sort of months at a time, then you need more help. Right? There's something going on there that needs more support. But if it is a case of it's kind of intense, it's energy consuming to be with and to explore and be with these feelings, be with these tender parts of yourselves, then you just give yourself time for that. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks for your question.
Thank you.
And then Sharon. Hi, Sharon.
Hi. Yes, I feel the opposite of reactive at the moment. There's been a lot of reactivity getting here.
So what's the opposite of reactive?
Well, I'm in the milk. I'm in the milk aspect. And so there's, I just feel milky. That's the only way of describing it, really. Yeah, it's kind of the milk churn effect.
Or non. What's that like for you? How does that make you feel?
Wow. It's very relaxing. I had a little, but when it goes, I want more. There's a lot of mouth stuff, a lot of, I mean, when we did the thing on retreat, I sort of was like, oh my God, this is fucking terrible. But it is actually, it's like drinking milk in milk, sucking.
Yes. So it's a great example that you bring, because what you see, a little bit what I was pointing to in the talk, but it's only really when you experience it that you see that in the run-up to finding this quality, right, the reactivity is immense, right? There's so much reaction, anger and rage and sadness, loss, and grief, and oh my goodness, the whole bang shoot, right? And yet, as I was saying, it means there's something there that you don't have to just be present. And now, as you've been present with it and present through all of that and understood it and digested it and been with it and been with those parts of yourself, which we will talk about in some future dive in with Doms, all of a sudden, the thing that it takes to be present is here. And it turns out to be some kind of milky, nourishing, loving goodness.
It's, it's incredible. I mean, it has been blood, sweat, and tears. It really has, actually. Like Zarina said, the wash cycle of your, just, oh God.
Yeah, it is.
Immobilizingly painful at times and huge amounts of reactivity.
Yes.
But there is when it goes, so sometimes it I've also felt a lot of space. So the space, it's like milky space, which has been there's been quite a lot of ego activity because of the amount of space. And of course my inner critic was like, this is, what you talking about? This is rubbish, you know, for God's sake, stop it.
Yeah, yeah.
My mother's voice going, you really have gone too far this time, you know. It's like,
Yeah. Yay, we've gone too far.
you've gone too far this time. You really, really have. So,
Yeah.
but it was actually quite funny. I was inquiring with someone yesterday, and it is just like being in a kind of vat. And I actually can, there is a sort of, it feels like a happy baby, kind of like a happy baby feeling.
Yeah. So how about that? Right. So that little being didn't have what it needed to just be present. But now you do. That's the thing. That's the amazing thing. Yeah, wonderful, Sharon. I'm very happy to hear that.
It's very moving, really.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I feel very moved. I feel very moved by the diamond approaches. You know, the old teaching is very, very moving.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank
Relax,
you too.
relax.
Thank you for being present with everything on the way to being this presence.
Yeah, it's worth it in the end. Thank you.
All right, everyone. I think there was one more, but have they look like they've put their hand down. We have come to time. So, been lovely to see you all as usual. Feel free to shoot through questions, comments, anything like that. We always I love hearing from you. And if you have ideas about future seminars or topics or areas of inquiry, like you're inquiring, what are the things you run into that you would like to hear more about, or where you need something to, you know, to make sense of, or some skill, or always happy to hear anything about that. And yeah, so this will be uploaded to YouTube in I guess a sort of week or so. And feel free to check them out there. You can subscribe to the channel and you'll see all the past ones, and feel free to comment or post questions. And otherwise, we'll see you in a month. Thank you very much for coming along and for your interest in this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dom.
You are welcome.
Yes. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Thank you.